welcome. My name is Ashley. Today's book reviews are going to be on Wolf and Repo, book number 3 and 4 of the Henchmen MC series by Jessica Gadziala. This series starts with Rain, and I did a book review on that, so if you want to watch these in order, go to the Jessica Gadziala playlist and it should be there. I believe I told you all in the previous book review, but just in case I didn't, if you have triggers, you definitely want to look at those. Jessica does a great job letting you know in the description of books, and I believe at the beginning of the books that she has a website that lists all the different triggers for the books, and you should definitely check that out before you read Wolf if there's anything that upsets you. Wolf is one of those books that even though it's going to cover really difficult topics, I have to tell you, I was the most excited for it. Because you have Wolf, this stoic guy who doesn't really speak a lot, but you can tell is very violent. And it doesn't really make sense. How do you have such a calm, simple personality, but then everybody fears you? So I was definitely looking forward to that story. Plus, Wolf's book includes Janie, and you all know how much I love a powerful female character. So I was beyond excited to read this book. This is the first book of the series that's going to run simultaneous to another book. When I read Rain and Cash, those came basically one after the other. All the events of the first book already took place when you read Cash's book. It's really interesting to me that Jessica took the liberties as an author to change the timeline whenever it was necessary for the character. So, as I mentioned, this book runs simultaneously to Cash's. However, at the end of Wolf, when they have the epilogue, Jessica's going to use that as a way to fast forward time before Repo's book. It really works great, and it happens occasionally, not always. Every book will have an epilogue. Not all epilogues are treated as a fast forward through time. Does that make sense? It really worked well as a reader, and I really appreciated the fact that I wasn't really sure where I was going to start the next book. Anyway, back to the storyline. Wolf's book will actually start before we see him in Cash's book with how him and Janie ended up at his cabin together, and then every time in Cash's book they interact with Lo or Cash, they'll interact again in Wolf's book, and I really appreciated that. It actually kind of reminded me of Jamie Maguire's books, but I love it. I'm a sucker for that. I love when the storylines interact. So then, through Wolf's book, you will find out everything about him, why he is the way he is, and it's really interesting because his childhood is one that explains him perfectly, but at the same time, I've never heard anything like that before. So that was really interesting, and it also goes into why people fear him. And then you see Janie turn into Jaystorm. We've heard about her throughout all of the books. This is the first time you really get an in-depth look at everything she's capable of and really everything she's gone through. One of the most miraculous things I think Jessica did with this book, actually probably this series, is the fact that when she wrote Janie, Janie had a normal childhood, normal parents, and then this horrible thing happened to her, and she couldn't go back to the way she was. It kind of almost broke her, but then Lo helped empower her and build her up so she is stronger and fierce, and I think that it's empowering. It was such an incredible way that storyline was written. I absolutely appreciated it and loved it. And as much as I liked Wolf and Janie in this book, if you are fond of those characters, oh my heavens, they are incredible in Duke. You have to read that book if you like these characters. So, as I mentioned before, the end of Wolf, there's going to be an epilogue that is used to fast forward time before we read Repo. And that is mainly because Repo's been a prospect through all of these other books, and now he's a patched member of the Henchmen, which has to be that way for his story to work. In Repo, he is now in charge of all the new prospects, and that includes this female, Maze. Maze got the opportunity to try out, but that was really only because Rain couldn't say no to her. When you have Summer, Lo, and Janie that all might find out that you said that a female couldn't be part of your club, you're going to let her try out. That being said, I understand where Rain's coming from with the fact that having a female in the club brings about a lot of problems, especially because some of the members have been members since when his father was in charge, and they're not exactly the most trusting of men, and Rain would feel like Maze's entire safety was on him, and if anything happened to her, it was going to be his fault. His way of handling this is to allow Maze to try out, however, telling Repo to make her life a living hell and basically push her to quit. That's going to put Repo in a really awkward situation because he finds himself really interested in Maze, and Maze does have an attraction towards Repo. However, it's kind of a push and pull thing because of his attitude and the way he blindly follows orders. I think that becomes really unattractive, just to everybody, quite frankly. Even Janie has an issue with it because when you know something's wrong, you should speak up. That's just the way the world should work. It doesn't always work that way, but it should. In Repo, Kay's going to come back, and actually, as a matter of fact, in Wolf, the Malk brothers are going to play a big part in that. Janie's going to go meet with all the Malkmen to borrow Eli for a little project. So these books really do come together, and you're going to get that sense of, as Jessica referred to it, this little universe where all of these characters interact and play big parts in each other's lives. Really loved that. I mean, I really couldn't say that I've ever read another series where the characters interact with each other from other series in such a normal, natural way. It feels flawless. Now that I'm reading this series, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't get that feeling from reading the other series, but maybe, again, I should have been reading this the whole time and then branching out to those series. That's all on me. The next book reviews will be on Duke and Rennie. As I mentioned, Wolf and Janie will play an incredible role in Duke, so make sure you read that. And then also, the entire Henchmen won't look the same after that book. Honestly, one of the biggest surprises I've read in this entire series. I really liked it. If you like this review, go ahead and like. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. And as always, if you want my reviews every week, then go ahead and subscribe. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you again soon.